Did you know the Quran revealed a scientific miracle about the ocean over 1400 years ago? Something that science only just discovered recently? In the Quran, chapter 25:53, it says, "And it is he who released two seas, one fresh and sweet, one salty and bitter, and placed between them a barrier that cannot be crossed." But here's the amazing part. Scientists only just discovered that when fresh and salt water meet, they don't mix. There's an invisible barrier between them that keeps them separate called halocline, which forms between them due to differences in chemical composition, density, and temperature. This would be impossible for someone without modern technology to know. But the Quran describes it perfectly. Is this proof that the Quran is the word of God? What do you guys think?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, the gift that keeps on giving, and it's not even Christmas. Our famous blonde, that's really not a blonde, Lily J. Lily J has another scientific miracle that's in the Quran. You know, chapter 25, verse 53, that says there's two seas that meet, but they don't mix, right? One is fresh water, sweet, and the other one is bitter, salt water. And Allah has put a barrier between the two of them. Now, Muslims like Lily and other Muslim apologists, Dawah, whatever you want to call her, they love the play on words game. My question to her, is the Quran saying that this is a permanent barrier? Is it a temporary barrier? Is it saying that the two bodies of water never mix? All of this is important, but sadly, and I do mean sadly, in Allah's clear and explained in detail book, Allah doesn't explain anything. All right, so I'm going to go to Grok. I'm going to go to ChatGPT. So I went to Grok first, and I said, what scientific evidence exists that prove there are two bodies of water that never mix? Do salt water and fresh water mix? Do thermoclines and haloclines keep two bodies of water from ever mixing, right? Because the Quran doesn't specify. Now I'm going to skip all of this. Now I accidentally hit the deep search button, and boy, did Grok do a deep search. So I'm going to skip all that. So Grok gives us the key points. Research suggests there are no bodies of water that never mix, with visible separations being temporary due to the density differences. That's why when a Muslim say, "Oh, I can show you a picture where there's two bodies of water and they don't mix," or I can show you a video. Well, of course you can, but you don't have the brain cells to actually understand what's going on. What you're seeing and what's actually taking place are two different things. All right, it seems likely that salt and fresh water do mix, especially in estuaries, forming brackish zones over time. The evidence leans towards thermoclines and haloclines slowly mixing, but not preventing it entirely, with mixing occurring through currents and seasonal changes. So again, is the Quran saying that they never mix? They partially mix, right? Or that they mix slowly? We don't know. Again, the clear as mud book. All right, so here we go. Direct answer. Overview. The idea of two bodies of water never mixing is a common misconception, often seen in viral images of fresh water meeting salt water. While they may appear separate initially, they do mix over time. Salt water and fresh water mix in dynamic environments such as estuaries, thermoclines, and haloclines can delay the mixing but don't stop it. Do bodies of water never mix? Research, again, this is research. This is not the Quran, suggests that there are no bodies of water that never mix. Maybe in Mars, who knows? What people often see, like in the Gulf of Alaska, is fresh water from the glaciers meeting salt water, creating a visible boundary due to density differences. However, this is temporary, and mixing occurs through currents and diffusion. Fact-checking sources like USA Today confirm this, debunking claims of permanent separation. Now you might say, well, the Quran doesn't say permanent. Well, the Quran doesn't say shit, right? Doesn't say permanent, doesn't say temporary, doesn't say looks like it. Do salt water and fresh water mix? It seems likely that salt water and fresh water do mix, especially in estuaries. It's just repeating its crap again. You can go to Ocean Networks Canada, showing a gradual mixing in river plumes. The role of thermoclines and heliclines. The evidence leans towards thermoclines and heliclines slowly mixing but creating density layers, but they don't prevent it entirely. A thermocline is where temperature changes rapidly with depth, and helicline is where salinity does. These layers can inhibit mixing in calm conditions, but seasonal changes like winter cooling cause overturning and currents ensuring mixing over time. This is explained in a resource, Wikipedia thermoclines and Wikipedia heliclines. All right, let's go to the survey note. A detailed analysis of water mixing in ocean dynamics. All right, this section provides a comprehensive analysis of scientific evidence regarding whether there are bodies of water that never mix, the mixing behavior of salt water and fresh water, the roles of thermoclines and haloclines in ocean mixing. All right. Understanding the myth of non-mixing bodies of water. The notion that there are two bodies of water that never mix has gained traction through viral images and videos, often depicting a clear boundary between different water masses, such as in the Gulf of Alaska. These visuals typically show fresh water from glacial melts or rivers meeting salt water, with the separation attributed to the difference in salinity, density, and temperatures. However, scientific evidence, as highlighted by multiple sources, refute the idea of a permanent non-mixing barrier. Scientific explanation: the apparent separation is due to physical properties of water. Fresh water with a density approximately 1 gram per cubic centimeter is less dense than salt water, which has a density of 1.025 grams per cubic centimeter. The density differences causes fresh water to float on the top, creating a visible boundary. However, this is not a static state. Mixing occurs through the process such as diffusion, turbulence, eddies, and currents. Debunking the myth. Fact-checking efforts such as the U.S. Today clarify that the images often mislabeled as two oceans meeting actually show glacial water meeting ocean water. A 2013 study by Ocean Networks Canada and the Fraser River plume near Vancouver further illustrates that freshwater mixes with the ocean water to form a brackish layer, contradicting the claims of a permanent separation. Similarly, blah, blah, blah. All right, scale and context. I'm just going to go slowly through here. There is no scientific evidence supporting the evidence of two bodies of water that never mix, and the phenomenon is better understood as a temporary visual effect rather than a permanent state. All right, mixing behavior, salt water. Okay, we're not going to go through this. This is basically the same crap over and over again. Okay, the role of thermoclines, we already know. They slow it down, they don't stop it. Impact of mixing, blah, blah, blah. Mechanism, okay, same shit. Scientific consensus. Studies such as those in the Descriptive Physical Oceanography by Talley et al., 2011, emphasize that thermoclines and heliclines are not absolute barriers. They can slow down mixing, but they do not prevent it. So that would even go against what she's saying, right? Summary to all the shit that I just read. Bodies of water never mix. No scientific evidence. Temporary separation due to density, but mix over time. Salt water and fresh water mix. Yes, especially in estuaries. They form brackish water. Thermoclines and heliclines. They slow down the mixing, but that's about it. They do not prevent. All right. Conclusion, again, blah, blah, blah. There is nothing. All right. It's going to go through a whole bunch of citations. There we go. So then I said, so the Quran in Surah 2553 is just another Muslim pipe dream and bears no scientific evidence. Key points. The Quran, Surah 2553, describes a barrier between two bodies of water that do not mix, often interpreted by Muslims as a scientific miracle. Scientifically, no permanent barrier exists between bodies of water. Okay, the verse likely reflects observable phenomena, something that can be seen with the naked eye, like in the pictures and in the videos. All right, so that's it for grog. Now let's go to my other pal. Let's go to ChatGPT. Same question: what evidence exists to prove that there are two bodies of water that don't mix? Salt water, fresh water, blah, 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 blah. And we go over here, and what does it say? It says, the idea that two bodies of water that don't mix is a popular misconception, often shared in social media posts or videos, but scientifically this is not accurate. In the absolute sense, let's break it down, baby. It's kind of like a good song. Let's break it down. All right, number one, salt water and fresh water do mix, but slowly, right? Fresh water, like a river, meets salt water, like an ocean, they do mix, but not immediately or completely at the boundary. All right, this is important. The Quran doesn't tell you if it's a permanent, temporary. Okay, so we don't know because Allahu Alam. Estuaries are prime examples where fresh water and salt water meet and gradually mix. The mixing occurs due to diffusion, turbulence, and currents. The process can take place over several kilometers depending on the local conditions. All right, and we go to number two. Thermoclines and haloclines limit mixing temporarily, not permanently. Halocline is a sharp gradient in salinity. It creates a barrier to vertical mixing between layers of water due to differences in density, common in fjords, deep seas, and stratified estuaries. A thermocline is a sharp gradient in temperature. Like haloclines, it also inhibits mixing temporarily due to the density difference. However, these barriers are not permanent. Storms, tidal forces, seasonal temperature changes, and ocean currents can disrupt and mix the layers over time. It doesn't matter what's causing them to mix. They mix. All right, myth. Two oceans don't mix. The Atlantic and the Pacific. You will have Muslims tell you that the Atlantic and Pacific do not mix. That is bullshit, right? As a matter of fact, I did a video on this. Besides this one, I mean an in-depth video. It's got all the different seas, all the different rivers, etc. This myth is often tied to images of videos showing a visible line between two water bodies, but what you're actually seeing is a difference in sediment, salinity, and temperature, not a magical barrier. A famous example would be the Gulf of Alaska, where glacial runoffs meets the ocean, creating a visible boundary due to differences in turbidity and salinity. But they do mix over time. Here we go, scientific summary. Fresh water and salt water, they mix. Haloclines and thermoclines, they mix but slowly. Oceanic boundaries, Gulf of Alaska, yes. All right. Would you like a visible? No. All right, so I said, so the Quran in Surah 25:53 is just another Muslim pipe dream? Yes. 25:53 says, and he is he who has released the two seas, one fresh and one sweet, and one salty and bitter, and he placed them a barrier prohibiting partition. Okay, by prohibiting, that's not specifying a time frame. That means they don't mix at all. You got that, Lily J? Unless you want to define the Arabic words. All right, scientific evaluation of the claim. This verse is often cited by apologists like Blondie over here as a miraculous foreknowledge of oceanography, particularly referring to haloclines, which is what she mentioned. Now, she didn't read. She doesn't know what a halocline is because she's a ditso. Right? However, the scientific facts and historical context do not support the idea of a scientific miracle here. What's scientifically true? Fresh water and salt water can meet, etc., and estuaries. There is a temporary stratification due to salinity differences, haloclines. However, they do mix, okay? No absolute barrier exists. What the verse implies, as interpreted by some Muslims, the claim is often that a divine, impenetrable partition prevents mixing. A permanent barrier, right? Not a temporary barrier, not a slowing down barrier, but a permanent barrier that modern science allegedly only recently discovered. Where did we hear this shit? Oh yeah, the blonde bimbo said only recently discovered. Everything has only been recently discovered. Some apologists point to the Gulf of Alaska, but these examples often involve visual differences due to sediment, not non-mixing water. What scholars and scientists say? Oceanographers confirm that the physical process causing salinity gradients like haloclines are well understood. Okay, so they were understood way before Islami, and not evidence of divine intervention. The idea of water boundaries was not unique to the Quran. It was present in pre-Islamic and Greek thought. Anaxima, whatever his name is, Aristotle, and observable, obvious in regions like the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. All right? Nothing new, ladies and gentlemen. Then again, nothing is new. Yes, from a scientific standpoint, Surah 2553 does not describe a scientific miracle. But I ask chat one more question. Would it be a fallacy to use the term scientific miracle, as science does not deal with miracles? Because Muslims like to throw out, oh, scientific miracles in the Quran. Did you know there are 250 scientific miracles in the Quran? No, there's none. Chat comes back and says, exactly, you're absolutely right. Thank you, chat. I bet you Lily's phone wouldn't agree. Claiming a scientific miracle is a category error, or more formally, a category fallacy. Because, why? Science operates on natural laws, testable hypotheses, and repeatable observations. Miracles, by definition, are supernatural events that defy or suspend natural laws. Therefore, the term scientific miracle is self-contradictory. Something cannot be both miraculously supernatural and scientifically natural and testable at the same time. So basically, Muslims are idiots. All right, philosophical insight. Philosopher David Hume argued that a miracle is a violation of the laws of nature. Yes, and as a firm and unalterable experience has established these laws. The proof against a miracle is as entire as any argument from experience can possibly be. In other words, the more something is claimed to be a miracle, the less it can be verified scientifically, and vice versa. The apologetic misuse. Muslims apologists, and sometimes Christians, hey, we're not barred from it, often misuse the term to cloak religious claims in the language of science, which can mislead people into thinking belief is supported by empirical data, shift interpretations of ancient texts post hoc to match modern discoveries. That is what Muslims do with the embryology in the Quran, which, by the way, there is no embryology in Quran. I challenge any Muslim doctor to debate me. Oh yeah, I've debated 5 Muslim doctors, and they're all a bunch of idiots. Guys and gals, never go to a Muslim doctor, all right? Any Muslim doctor that thinks you were created from a blood clot or thinks that women have yellow sexual fluid that comes out of their boobs, you don't want to go there. Using the term scientific miracle is logically flawed and misleading. Okay, Quran 25:53 mentions 2 seas, one sweet, fresh water, and one bitter, salt water. Do we have any called freshwater seas? Great observation. I know. You're absolutely correct to question the terminology. Of course I am. There's no such thing as a freshwater sea in scientific terms. Fresh bodies of water are called lakes, rivers, streams, springs, and aquifers. The only exception are misnamed or historically named bodies of water. We got the Sea of Galilee. It is not a sea, it is a lake. It's freshwater. We got the Dead Sea. It is also a lake, and it's extremely, extremely salty. We got the Caspian Sea. It is also a lake, and it's salty, meaning it's brackish. It's half and half. And we got the Aral Sea, which is a lake, which is becoming more saline over time. So when the Quran says in 25:53, he is the one that set free 2 seas, one sweet and one palatable, and the others The word used is seas, Bahrain, loosely or metaphorically, not in scientific sense. Linguistic and cultural context. In classical Arabic, Bahr, sea, could refer to a large body of water, even a river or a lake. I'm okay with that. Thus, the 2 seas might just mean 2 bodies of water, not literally 2 oceans as marine seas. Okay? But this also means that any supposed scientific precision in the verse collapses under linguistic scrutiny. Conclusion, there is no such thing in science as a freshwater sea. Quran 2553 is not scientifically accurate and reflects common speech or metaphor, not relevant, not revelation of unknown knowledge. No, I don't like anything else. Ladies and gentlemen, here's another one that debunks the blonde bimbo. I hope you like this. Pass it around, ladies. Pass it around. Let the Muslims know they ain't got nothing. I mean, nothing. Alhamdulillah.